Good morning. It's good to be able to have a chance to talk with you again this way, and that's from it. If you want to read with me, it's Mark chapter 2, verse 1. And this is concerning Jesus, as always, with his disciples who's not been long in his ministry and has just moved into an area. And this is an account, a special story that happened while he was in his early part of his ministry. And Mark 2, verse 1 says this, "And again he entered into Capernaum after some days. And it was noised that he was in the house. And straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached a word unto them. And they came unto him, bringing one sick of the palsy, which was borne of four. And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof where he was, and when they had broken it up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sins be forgiven thee. But there were certain of the scribes sitting there, and reasoning in their hearts, Why doth this man thus speak blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God only? And immediately when Jesus perceived in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves, he said unto them, Why reason ye these things in your hearts? Whether it is it easier to say to the sick of the palsy, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Arise and take up thy bed and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins, he saith to the sick of the palsy, I say unto thee, Arise and take up thy bed and go thy way into thine house. And immediately he arose, took up the bed, and went forth before them all, insomuch that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, We never saw it on this fashion. I just wanted you to understand that this morning, that as I looked at this little story, that this is an amazing story about a man. And although there's several characters in this story, we have Jesus, we have the scribes and Pharisees, we have the four people who were carrying this man who was crippled, we have the crowd around the house. There's so many characters, and a lot of people, a lot of ministers have spoke from this before and drawn attention to certain people in this particular story, as is a good idea. But this morning, I want to talk to you about the paralytic man, the man who was, as it is translated, sick of the palsy. The word there is paralytikos, which simply is where we get the word paralyzed or paralytic or paralysis. And what it basically is someone who part of their body or limited parts of their body cannot move. Now, I don't know if this man who was on this bed, if he was actually paralyzed from the waist down, the neck down, I don't know what. But I don't know if he could sit up or if he could have actually moved around much of it all. But anyway, the story says that it is so crowded where Jesus was, and he had drawn so much attention to himself that you couldn't get in the building. You couldn't get in the house. He wasn't in an auditorium, but just a simple house. And they couldn't get into where he was. So his friends carried him. They said there were four friends. I always assumed that meant there was like one at each corner of his bed, but I don't know. But anyway, his friends could not get him through the door. Maybe the door was too small for the bed, or maybe the door was too small for them and the bed. I don't know. But it says they went up on the roof when they saw they couldn't get to him. And they got up on the roof and laid the tiles back or whatever that it was covering the roof enough or however, and to lower him down through the roof on the bed right down in front of Jesus. And it is because that in the previous verses, we heard that they had been people bringing people to him to be healed, and they were getting healed. So obviously these people heard about this man, whoever this prophet was, who was making people well. And they had their friend, and they knew their friend wanted to be sick. Maybe their friend says, please take me to this man, or whatever. But they bring him to him, and then Jesus, as you heard, the first thing out of his mouth, instead of instead of saying, get up and walk or be healed or touching him or waving a hand over him or whatever, he said, your sins are forgiven. And who said anything about sins? I mean, they didn't bring him here to get his sins forgiven. They could have just brought him he didn't have to come in and be right in front of Jesus to have his sins forgiven. Nobody had said anything about sins. Well, Jesus said that, and immediately the people sitting around him says, only God can forgive sins. And theologically, that's true. Only God can ultimately say, what you did was wrong, but okay, I'm not going to punish you for it. Only he can do that. But after he said that, they all got mad. And so he says to them, okay, which is bigger? Which is the greatest trick? In other words, is it to just tell somebody you forgive them and nobody sees nothing happen and there's no lights flash? If you are forgiven for something or you receive forgiveness from anyone, there's nothing dramatic, or even somebody from the outside can look at you and say, well, there you are before forgiveness and after forgiveness, and really can't tell much about you. So he said, you want to see something? You need to see something to believe that this is real. And so he says, which is greater? He said, somebody just says, take up your bed and walk, you that are paralyzed. And so he told him that, and he got up and walked out. Jesus said, so you'll know the Son of Man can both forgive and heal. But I want to talk to you about the man, the paralyzed man. We're moving here to Thanksgiving, and we're moving towards a time when, unfortunately, being in our situation, and some people's personality is different than others, but unfortunately, most of us, a lot of times, struggle to find anything to be thankful for. It's really sad that we're like that, but we just see so much, especially on social media, where everybody's running around and they're slim and they're pretty and they got money and they got all this stuff that we don't have, and they advertise all these people and all these lifestyles that's way better than us. It makes most people feel like they don't have it near as good as the rest of the world does. It makes all kinds of people feel like that they've got some problem that nobody else has, and that the world has not been fair to them, and they have been cheated some way out of some of the things that everybody should have. And because of all that going on around us, and we hear that all the time, and a lot of people go out of their way to tell us how bad everything is for us and how miserable we should be because of everything, that it makes it real hard for us to be thankful or grateful about anything. But I want you to look at this man. I don't know how he ended up paralyzed. I don't know to the degree of his paralysis. I don't know how well he dealt with it. He may be one of those people who just really was angry and bitter and felt sorry for himself because life certainly hadn't been fair to him. And he may have had all kinds of reasons to complain, and may have looked at the world as like this miserable mistake for him being here. Or he could have been somebody who always looked on the bright side and says, well, I'm paralyzed, but at least I can do this, or at least I've got people that care, or at least this. I don't know. I don't know what kind of man he was. I don't know what he did or how he dealt with his problem. But the first thing I want you to point out to you that he had reason to be thankful for, and so do you, and that is, this man had one first reason to be thankful, and that was not with all the other things going on, but that he had some people who cared about him. There was at least 4 people in this man's life who cared about him and was doing everything they could to make him better and get him better. And I promise you, friend, I want to encourage you very much to look around. There's some people in your life that cares about you, that would help you if they could. Matter of fact, I see a lot of people every day who have already used up a whole bunch of people in their life that have tried to help them over years, and they refused it, and they turned away from it, and they ignored it. But the fact was, they had people just like this man in their life, willing to sacrifice, willing to go out of their way to try to make things better for them. And I can tell you, one of the number one thing I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving season is I have an abundance of people who have already proved to me that they would do anything to help me if I needed it. If I was down, if I was out, if I needed someone to carry me somewhere as big and as heavy as I am, I've seen, when I broke my leg back on the hill, there was a bunch of people that I could name that are wonderful people. They came and helped carry me out of the woods. So I know what it feels like to be this man, to be the person that you need somebody to help you because you can't do it yourself. And that's the shape we're all in, dear friend. All of us need somebody at times. None of us, the most self-sufficient, the most intelligent, the most gifted, the most wealthy, healthy person in the world still needs people in their life. And if you look around, I want to tell you that you've got people in your life and around you who love you and who would help you. God's put them there. And they're willing to be everything they can be for you. And for that reason, you've got at least one reason to be thankful this Thanksgiving Day. These people got this man where he needed to be. And the other thing is that this man, as he looked into Jesus' face and Jesus looked at him, he said, "Your sins are forgiven." One of the things, dear friend, that I am most thankful for this holiday season is for forgiveness. It doesn't matter how deeply you love people. It doesn't matter how much and how self-conscious you are and how sympathetic and empathetic you are to other people's feelings. And it doesn't matter if you're a person who is constantly looking and measuring yourself and doing self-examination to make sure you don't say anything to hurt anybody or offend anybody or do anything wrong. It doesn't matter. You know that within your heart, all of us, if we've been here any time at all, we need someone somewhere to forgive us. Usually the people we need it from the most are the people we love the most, because they're the ones it's easiest for us to hurt. They're the ones it's easiest for us to disappoint. They're the ones who we all look back at ourselves and say, "I wish I hadn't said that," or "I wish I hadn't thought that," or "I wish I hadn't done that." And we need forgiveness from these people that God has put in our lives that love us and will care for us. If you've got people like that in your life, and I know you do, at some point you will need their forgiveness. And also you will need to be able to forgive. Some of you have been hurt very deeply. You've been betrayed terribly. You have been abandoned. You have been taken advantage of by people that you put a lot into. And for you, you need a different kind of forgiveness. You need the ability to forgive. You need to be able to let this go and to heal and to get beyond it. And so one of the greatest things that I'm most thankful for is the ability to be forgiven for my failures, forgiven from my Father in heaven for my sin, and forgiven and the ability to forgive others who have betrayed and hurt me. The sweetest gifts in life, one of them, the greatest, the one Jesus died on the cross for, was so that we can have and experience genuine forgiveness. And then the final thing that I want you to think about that this man received that day is that the Lord told him to get up and walk. And he got up and walked away. And I've got one of the sweetest, greatest gifts, dear friend, that you must take hold of because we serve a God of mercy and grace. And because of what Jesus did, there is not a person under the sound of my voice that doesn't have a reason to be grateful and thankful for hope this morning. Hope this man had. He come there that day and Jesus took his life that was broken and limited and bound up by his disease and his paralysis, and he removed that. And suddenly this man had the hope of a life like he'd always wanted, a life that he'd dreamed about, the life he'd seen from so many others. The Lord set him free from all the guilt and bitterness that he'd ever had in his life. The Lord let him stand up and walk again and experience life like everyone else did. I don't know what was wrong with that man. I don't know what he did, but I know this. The Lord knew he first needed to be forgiven if he was ever going to walk again. Something in his life, he had a problem deeper than just being able to walk. He had a problem that was holding him back from being able to be healed and being able to recover. But the Lord, through his grace, gave him that. And all of a sudden, this man had hope of having the life that all of us really want to have. And this Thanksgiving season, let me tell you what, my family, this Thanksgiving, nobody is left because of Corona, but I have fewer people in my family to celebrate this holiday with this year than I did last. My family has lost people that we love deeply, and it's not the same. But because I have hope that I will see them again one day, I don't have my mom and dad or my grandparents with me in this holiday. I don't have that on Darnell's side, my father-in-law. I don't have him. I don't have a dear, precious nephew this holiday season, and we're having to deal with these losses. And the people in my church that's not there this year, that I don't have time to be able, but I have hope of being with all of them again. I have hope of the future, of having a wonderful life, no matter what's been taken, no matter how things look today, no matter how sick or bad or anything is, you are never without hope. Things can get better. Things will get better. The Lord gave that man hope. He may have been paralyzed. He may have had a bad life, but with God's grace, he received hope and walked out of that place with all the future opening up to him in a new way. And that's the way it is. God can instantly, friend, change the way things are for you and restore the possibility. You have possibility this year unlike anything you can imagine. It is beyond our understanding of what God can do for you, if you just don't lose hope. It is amazing how good the Lord is. You know, I've been sick, and a lot of the rest of us have been sick, and I lost my taste, and I'm looking forward to getting it back. I'm looking forward to being able to enjoy some foods. We won't get together, but we'll enjoy some foods. And one of the dear friends that I'm not have around this Thanksgiving is Brother Lige, that he and I worked together for many years, and we preached together, and he's my brother in Christ. And one of the things that I missed, and I just thinking about him, and I just thought, you know, he and I were the same, and I said we both are big guys, and a lot of times we had to control what we eat because we always eat more than we need. We love food. He and I both love food, and I always loved the fact that he said, my big problem is that everything tastes good to me. And I agree with him. It's like that. But I have hope of seeing him again. I have a hope of seeing so many more that I've gone. I'm the most thankful for the hope that I have of seeing again those that I've loved and still love in a place that's beyond this world. This Thanksgiving season, you need to look around and recognize what you have to be thankful for. I'm not going to tell you to look around and see who all's got it worse than you do. I have had people tell me that, and they say that's the best way to become thankful is look around and you can see somebody worse off than you. And that may work good for you, and I'm not criticizing, that never worked good for me. I don't want to see people who's worse off than I am when I'm down. I want to see people who's doing better than I am because it inspires me to do better. It makes me want to, and it makes me realize, well, if they can do good, I can do good. And so this morning, I want you to understand this Thanksgiving season, you have people in your life that God has placed there, who cares for you and who will help you if they can. Be thankful for them. You can have forgiveness in your life this holiday season. Be thankful that no matter what's went on in your life or what's been done wrong to you, you can be forgiven and you can forgive others, and you can have a clean slate this holiday season. Another and the final thing is there's not a person under the sound of my voice that doesn't, because of God, who He is, and Christ, what He did, doesn't have hope of a better tomorrow. Friends, forgiveness and hope are three things, dear friend, that everybody who's listening to me this morning has reason to be thankful and grateful for this Thanksgiving season. I pray the Lord bless you with a wonderful holiday. We will get back as soon as we can. We will go through this journey of this virus and all these restrictions, and hopefully there will come a day when this will be part of our past and will only be talked of in memory. But until that day, be faithful to the God that called you to this world. Love those around you. Be thankful for the people God has in your life. Be thankful for the forgiveness and the chance to start over that God extends to everyone. And also be thankful for the hope of a better day that all of us have because of God's grace. May the Lord bless you with a wonderful day.